You've just tuned in to the nexus of inspiring, encouraging, and uplifting leaders who share their successes and their failures. Insights that will motivate, cultivate, educate, and illuminate your path to a very bright future. Welcome to Shaping the Future podcast. Here's your host, Gregg Kell.
Hello, audience of Shaping the Future podcast. Today, I'd like to introduce you to Marco Mcguire, the owner of My Bail Hotlines.
That's correct.
Marco, tell us a little bit about your background.
Sure. Well, the business is it's a partnership of four brothers, and my background was realistic. I did IT. I was a network engineer for some quiet time, and I did a lot of marketing. That's my forte, is the marketing. But my background is I grew up in San Bernardino, born in LA, and grew up in San Bernardino. Went to school out here locally, and saw an opportunity in the bail industry, and we pretty much took it.
And the rest, as they say, is history. How long have this business been established, Marco?
We've been going on over about 10 years. We've been in the industry for about 14, 15 years, but we're going on our 11th year as Bail Hotline Bail Bonds.
Excellent. We in the Future Shapers audience are passionate about entrepreneurship and innovation. We believe that generates higher productivity, profits, and growth. Tell me, Marco, what are you most passionate about today?
Well, I think what I'm passionate about is still meeting different people, giving people a great experience in when they come to Bail Hotline, making sure they feel comfortable, making sure they feel like family. But one of the things I'm passionate about is where the technology is taking that. Technology is really shaping the way for how you do day-to-day business. And, it's making it easier to do business, to reach different people in different areas a lot faster. But I really think that what's passionate is where the technology is going, and if you could take advantage of that.
Right. That's the $64,000 question. How can you monetize the changing technology in a manner that really helps customers and ultimately works together? That's the challenge.
Yeah, that is a challenge. One thing about technology, if you use it to your best, if you're effective with it, is reaching your client, engaging with your client, making things a lot more easier for them. In essence, where they don't have to come into your office, you could execute a transaction a lot faster now, get information on the fly with the email, with the DocuSign. There's so many different ways of executing a bond nowadays where it would take, a person getting off of work or having to drive to your office. And if, building your company on technology, it just makes it so much more effective for the customer to do things and make it a lot faster.
I appreciate you. It sounds like you have a heart for that service and making things simple and transparent as possible. Marco, sometimes with the background that you have, the focus on technology and delivering a quality service, that works fine most of the time, but, sometimes life throws us a curveball. Things don't turn out the way that we hope we would like them to. Tell me, in your experience, and a short story about your worst experience as the leader of Bail Hotline.
Well, I think that me and my brothers have had our ups and downs, of course. In business, you always have curveballs, and it just depends how you're going to swing at that curveball. Depends how you're going to adjust, because it's always making adjustments as a business owner. Laws can change, the different perception of how people do business. There's so many changes that could come your way. You just got to learn how to learn to adjust, and not really. You got to understand that you don't take things personal. And one thing you have to make sure is you always have to be there for your customer. What's best for the customer? Because at the end result, it's really the customer that you're trying to give service to, making sure they, that they're in good hands when they're dealing with your business. I'll give you an experience. One of our lessons that we've learned was when there were certain laws that were changed in our industry, and we had to learn how to make adjustments. Certain bail that we used to write before we're no longer writing, but we learned to make that adjustment. We learned to make whatever changes needed to be done in the company. We had to cut some certain departments. We had to make people understand that, this is the way we're going to start doing business. And it's hard because when you have a business, you create relationships with managers, with staff. And when you have to make certain cuts and certain budgeting, some people don't understand that. And, we're not a huge company. We're a mid-level company. We try to keep it as a family. So we always want our staff to know us. I think creating a culture. And that was one of the hardest things, I think, for me and my brothers, was making those changes where our business was still being profitable and still being in business.
Things change. It sounds to me like the strength of your family-oriented business and your desire to focus on providing value for customers has helped you to overcome some of those challenges that you faced in the past.
Yeah, that's correct. Because you never want to cut the service. You never want to. You always want to give that same level of service and quality of service. Be there for the customer. Make sure they're knowledgeable on what they're signing. Make sure they understand what they're getting involved in. Because not everybody knows about bail. Not everybody understands it. Especially if you've never been into that predicament. You're bailing out a family member. And there's so many things required that we're asking you from. So you really want the customers to understand. And when they leave your office or they leave that moment where they were dealing with you, you want them to leave understanding that they did the right thing and they were with the right company.
A value bomb dropped by Marco Mcguire right here. Make sure the customer understands what they're doing. Make sure they feel comfortable with knowing that they're working with the right company and the right people at the right company. Outstanding. Tell me, Marco, little change of subject here. When you look forward into 2018, what is your most important business goal?
I think our most important goal is, realizing that things are changing in our industry, being ahead of the curve. There's been so many, technology has changed so many different industries. And our goal is just to be ahead of, always be one step ahead. And, there's no guarantees when you're a business owner. But one thing is you're out there, you're evolving. I look at myself from 2017, from 2018, how much I've grown and always learning, because as a business owner, you always have to have an open view of things. You got to understand you're going to learn new things, and there's never a dull moment in any industry that you're in, but especially what we do. It's case by case, but our goal is to get us a lot more efficient, is to really use technology and in its most, advantage way, and making it easier for our customers. But I think our goal is just to be ahead of the curve,
How can you do that, considering that there's so much change?
I think you got to be out there. One thing that I've learned in 2 years ago, I started going to different conferences and meeting different business owners, really going out there and listening to different, different speakers. I tell you that I went to a Tony Robbins conference. It was called Business Mastery, and it really changed the way I viewed things. I met different people from different parts of the world, not just from this country, because we have so many great people in this country, but it was such a great conference that I was there for, I think it was 5 days. And he had different talks, different people up there talking about different things about business, how you look at things, how to look at your optics. and understanding what you need to do to survive in today's, technology world. And I kept going there and I started reading more books. But I think as a business owner, you have to go out there and got to go out there and listen to different podcasts where you're driving, taking advantage of those opportunities. Because one thing you have to understand as a business owner, you're going to make mistakes and you're going to learn from those mistakes. And hopefully you do. Hopefully you look at yourself like keeping yourself grounded, because no matter who you are, what company you are, if you're not watching what you're doing, if you're not learning, you're not evolving, you will stay in the past and you will not be shaping any future. You will not have a business.
Some people call that a rut, where you keep running in place and you're really going nowhere.
Yeah.
But it sounds to me as though you have a commitment to learning and advancement. Even with a commitment like that, you always face challenges. What are some of the biggest challenges that you're facing right now, Marco?
I would say some of the biggest challenges is really keeping the company, understanding the culture, because as we make changes, you have to understand that your company your staff need to understand the changes that you are doing. And if you do changes without informing, without educating your staff, without educating your management, we have 30 something offices across the state and we just went into Boise. But the biggest challenge is where people still believe in what you are doing, your staff, keeping that culture, making sure the people that work for you understand that matter. Because if not, if they're on a different page, it's going to hurt your business. It's going to hurt the customer. And one of the biggest challenges is making sure they understand change is good. Changes has to happen for the survival of a company. And when, there's changes for the good of the company, some people might have to go into a whole different company. They might have to leave your company. And then sometimes you as a business owner, one of the hardest things as a business owner is letting people go. There might be somebody that just, they're not just working out for the company anymore, and you got to let them go. And it's hard because if you got to let go of management or demote a certain manager, that's one of the hardest challenges as an owner, as a company, making changes to improve your operation.
So it's critically important to you to have the right culture to lift the people up that are working with you, but recognize that there's changes within the business. Sometimes what the fit that used to be there with an individual may not be there always in the future. It takes some guts to be able to recognize when there are those changes and deal with them.
Yeah, that's why you have a lot of people that really, they're going to be listening to this, today. Being a business owner, being an entrepreneur is not easy. It takes a lot of guts. I listened to Gary Vaynerchuk. If you ever had a chance to listen to Gary V, he talks about that. He talks about having, and I don't mean to use this word, but you got to have cojones. You got to have a drive to be a business owner. Not everybody's built for it. You want to work 6 hours, 8 hours. Being a business owner is about thinking about your business. It's about you waking up in the morning, having goals, wanting to achieve something, and it's always not about a monetary thing. You want to like something. If you get into something, like it. Don't get into a business just because of money, because money is not going to be the greatest thing. It's not going to make you wake up in the morning liking what you do. And when I got into the bail business, it was truly something that I like doing. I really like helping people. I came from a poor background. I came from somewhere where, a lot of my friends ended up in jail, and unfortunately some passed away. But I really wanted to help people. And I think that's what me and my brothers have been successful, because we really truly wanted to educate people and help people get out of a certain jam. But, whatever you do, if you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to start your own business, draw your strategies, have a game plan. Just don't get into something because you think it's a good idea. Educate yourself as much as you can. And I'm not saying going back to college. I'm talking about pulling out the books. The great thing about today is you could go online and look at YouTube's, listen to these podcasts, and truly they are going to educate you. They're going to change you. And sometimes you're going to think about it twice. You might thought it was a good idea. And now that I listened to this, well, you know what? Maybe I don't have it. But if you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to be your own business, you got to have cojones. You got to want to do it. You got to want to have the drive for it, or else don't get in the kitchen if you can't take the heat.
Sounds like you have a goals. You have a team around you. You have an established business. You have a customer service process that's in place. What are the biggest challenges that you look forward to overcoming this year?
I think the biggest challenge is proving people wrong. I think that's one of our biggest things for me and my brothers at least, has been proving, the non-haters, haters, what do you want to call them, is proving that, you're going to make adjustments, you're going to make changes. And some people will say, oh no, you're doing the wrong thing or this and that. And really, really changing the way people think, changing the whole process. And it really kind of drives us, because who wants to get into a business where every day is the same thing? I want to have a challenge. That's what drives me, at least. I just don't do Bail. I have a restaurant, and when I got into the restaurant business, it was not easy. And that was one thing that a lot of people said, oh, that location is cursed. No, it wasn't location. It was the management. It was the ownership. You got to take a lot of passion about what you do, and you got to want to do it for the right reasons. And the challenges is overcoming, is making sure that if you do it the right way. Don't do it half-ass. Roll up your sleeves. Don't think that people are going to do it for you. And I'll give you an example. When I'm at my restaurant, I see a dirty plate on the table, I'll pick it up. If I see something on the floor, I'm going to sweep it. Why? Because I think as a entrepreneur, as a business owner, leadership is key. You got to lead. It's that old cliche. You got to lead by example. You want people to believe in you. You got to do it. You got to roll up your sleeves. You got to want to wake up in the morning. If you're going to do something, do it the right way. And I think those, we're always going to have challenges. If it's not the government, you want to blame, do the blame game. That's cool. You could do that, but it ain't going to get you nowhere. You're always going to have challenges. You're always going to have obstacles. And that's just what makes a business person successful. You look at the Magic Johnsons, you look at, everybody has their own story. And at the end of the day, we write our own story, and hopefully things work out. And if it don't, well, you know what? Pick yourself back up, brush it off, and say, the hell with it. I'm going to go forward.
Excellent. Excellent advice. Have some goals and have a vision and a drive on a day-to-day basis. Work hard to realize the vision. But you're an entrepreneur. There must have been a time when you were not. We're going to go into the Wayback Machine, Marco. Way back. I'm going to ask you to remember back to a day when you said, oh, you know what? I'm tired of working for someone else. I want something more. You were ready to step across the chasm, become an entrepreneur, but something was a little fearful for you. Tell me about that time and how you overcame that reluctance to become the man that you are today.
Well, I think like I said before, we all have our own story, but I would tell you back when I was a kid, I was always trying to hustle. I was always trying to figure out what's my next plan. But, I went to school to be a network engineer. I was an IT help desk guy. And, I was working in that for about 5-6 years. And I was doing okay for myself. And I had a wife. I just had a new child. And it was scary because I was getting into an industry that I had no clue of. I wasn't sure how was it going to go. I wasn't even sure if the state of California was going to give me a license. I just said, hey, you know what? I'm going to go with my gut. And I'm really tired of making X amount of dollar. And there was an opportunity. My brothers gave that to me. I was going to thank them for that. They saw something in me. They saw that this was a team and I was part of their team. And I was doing okay for myself. I was working for a big company out in Irvine. And I got called up to be a bail agent. And we knew where our direction was. Sooner or later, we were going to start our own company. But you always start out with one company. But it was a hard decision because, when you're making $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year, and you have a nice cushion, you think about that before you start your own business. But like I said, if you really want something, you go for it. Hopefully, you got to have some luck too. You got to have some luck, and there's some luck involved, and you just appreciate things when it's happening. So I think that was one of the turning stones for me is when, I got into the bail industry. I said to myself, I really don't want to work 9 to 5. I really want to have control of my own future.
So it sounds to me like you had a vision, you had a sense of what you'd like to accomplish, and most importantly, you had a family-based team that together you can work to become the company that you are. Outstanding. Yeah. Tell me about, at this point, describe your ideal client for Bail Hotline.
Well, I think our ideal client, like in anybody, is somebody that appreciates what you're doing for them. Because like with every business, we always have a client that, this is part of your job, you're getting paid. But then you have that ideal client that really understands, what you did for them. When I was out in the field, I used to go visit people in jail, and that was their worst moment. But I remember when they would come out, they would really have that look in their eye, like, I really appreciated what you did for me at that moment. You went up, you went beyond what I was asking for. And I think that's the ideal client is when two people respect each other, like they look at your business and they respect what you do, and they really acknowledge that, what you're doing is you're helping somebody out. You're really doing something different for society. You're really helping a family go through a bad time. Because a lot of people don't understand about bail. It's not about what you watch on TV. Our agents really care about people. They really want to make sure that person understands what they're doing and really help them, because if you treat people like family, you really treat the client with the most out respect, I could tell you people are going to really appreciate that. And I think one thing about the ideal client is both sides really appreciating each other.
Right. So if the client respects you and your business and it goes both ways, you can create something of lasting value that is bigger than just the situation of bail.
Yeah.
That to me is very fulfilling. And that could be a driver going forward.
I could give you a quick little example is when a chef makes a plate and the customer, could go anywhere they want to go eat. There's so many places to eat. But when the chef brings it out and there's been so much, it's like when your wife makes you food or dinner, you really appreciate that. When the customer sees that plate and it was so well, beautifully put together, and it has every ingredient to make that plate just be fantastic. And they tell you that, just as much as that chef put into making sure that dish was superb, and then the customer understanding like, wow, this food was great, the service was great. That's kind of a two-way street, and that type of metaphor. So, like the chef being gratitude that, he's getting paid to make that plate, and the customer is paying for that food. But if they both look at each other, it's like, hey, thank you. And that's an ideal client.
Everybody wins.
Everybody wins, yeah.
When you have that desire to create that sort of that relationship and ultimately to solve problems that are there. Tell me, Marco, I believe that the success that you're at today came as a result of good people that were with you, that in the formative stages, they might have given you some advice. Would you share with the Future Shapers audience some of the best advice that you have ever received that contributed to your success today?
Well, you know what? I've been fortunate to have some people in my life that really care for me and really wanted the best for me. And I, down this path, down this story that I'm still going through right now, I met some really good people. Was a gentleman named Hector. He's out of LA, and he was pretty much a mentor to me. another gentleman. It's ironic you have two Hectors that I've had in my life. That really gave me a lot of know-how, look at things, understand what's important, and really listening to them and watching how they do business, how they think. The best advice I would remember they always give me is never take anything personal. It's business. It's like the old cliche, but, in having a good attitude about whatever you do. But one thing I would tell you, though, that I learned from them was being humble. And I think when you keep yourself grounded, because you could do whatever you want in this, whatever business you're in or whatever you're doing, from professional athletes to actors to attorneys, whatever you are in, sometimes we lose that sense of reality. And then we start to think of ourselves as untouchable, or we start to look at other people like, oh, you're not on my level. And I think that you always have to keep yourself grounded. And I remember that, how they treated other people, how they appreciated the work from other people, because you can't do everything by yourself. You got to really appreciate the people around you. And I think that keeping yourself grounded, making sure you always tell yourself you don't know it all, and you always have something to learn from somebody, is one of the key things I've learned from my mentors, which is Hector Daldrazo and Hector Zelda. Really good guys, older gentlemen that, were I could tell you, Hector Zelda was one of the main marketing directors that put Budweiser on the Latin market. My other buddy Hector, was a major entrepreneur, diversified from making movies in Mexico to, owning businesses in Los Angeles. He just was a driver, and I really admire that from them, is that they never, and until this day, they're in their 70s now, and they're still trying to shape the future,
Excellent. Another value bomb dropped by Marco. Humility and keeping yourself grounded in the face of challenges that that are in your face all the time. Overcome those challenges with that sense of humility. No matter how good things are, it's not about you. It is about what you together can create. Outstanding. Tell me, Marco, we in the Future Shapers audience are a big believer in reading. I noticed some books in your office. Could you please recommend a book that has been particularly compelling and valuable to you, and why?
You know what? I've had the opportunity to read a lot of good books, but there's just one book that I just got from a friend of mine. His name's Kumar. He gave it to me for Christmas this past year. And I actually went out and bought many copies because I really feel that this book could change the way you think and literally make decision making a lot more important. And one book I would definitely recommend right now, I've had opportunities to read different books, but there's a book right now that I've read a couple times already. I've even given it to my kid, my daughter. My daughter's only 15, my kid's only 21, but it's called Emotional Intelligence 2.0. And the book is so eye-opening. I never really considered myself to be this. I was never the best in school. I always had to read things 3 or 4 times. And this book really makes you think how people emotional intelligence are, because we're all born with an IQ, right? I mean, you have your IQ, I had my IQ, but we can't change our IQ. But what we could do is change our emotional intelligence. And what the emotional intelligence, what this book does, the Emotional Intelligence 2.0, it really makes you look at things, because we all have a different learning curve. We all see things differently. That's what makes us great as human beings. But we all learn differently. But in this book, it makes you look at things and understand that emotional intelligence. I could tell you, I had a lot of buddies in high school that were a lot smarter than me in books. But if we look at today's picture, where I'm at and they're at, and there's nothing wrong with what they're doing, but I had more of a drive to keep learning, keep reading books, keep being that sponge. Let me be around certain these people. I like conversating with people of interest, what I'm interested in. It could be in sports, it could be in business, whatever. But if it's an interesting topic, I like to listen. But this book really opened up, and it really helped me understand who I was and how I was learning. Because, when I always thought of myself, I'm a good hustler. I'm not a good smart person. I'm not a rocket scientist or anything like that. But it made me really appreciate who I was. And it made me say, hey, I am a smart guy. I'm an emotional intelligent person. I've grown with the years. And if whoever listens to this, if you haven't had a chance to read the Emotional Intelligence book, you should buy it on Amazon or wherever you want to do. But this really book would help you out as an entrepreneur, as a business person, as a person, period, to really understand who you are and what you can do to develop yourself.
And there you have it, Future Shapers, a guideline on helping to develop yourself. That would be Emotional Intelligence 2.0 by Travis Bradbury and Gene Greaves. Get it on Amazon. Changing the subject, tell me, Marco, we at the Future Shapers understand that the success in life as an entrepreneur comes through simple actions and habits consistently applied over time. They work together to create an excellent future. Tell me, Marco, what are you doing right now to shape your future professionally?
Well, I think the habits are, reading, listening, going to certain conferences, putting myself in certain locations where I'm going to get something out of it. I give you an example. Every day when I wake up, I have my coffee, I'll go to the gym, and I already have a routine, I that's my routine. People have different routines. You could go walking, but having positive things around you, being around people you appreciate. And as the older we get, as that clock's ticking, associate yourself with people that mean things to you. You know what I mean? Be around people that are positive. We're all going to have our ups and downs, but I would say my habits and my work and my glorious future is really just being happy. Just waking up in the morning and saying to myself, wow, I got it good. I'm able to do things that other people can't do, and I'm able to talk to people. And, this is a simple thing. Sometimes we look at a sunset, and sometimes we take even the sunset for granted. But, stop and really sometimes take time for yourself and enjoy life. It's not always about what you drive or what you're wearing. It's really about being happy. And if you're happy, that's what really counts.
Value bomb, once again, stop, slow down, concentrate on being happy. Maybe working on the emotional intelligence that helps to facilitate that sense of happiness. Outstanding. Marco, thank you for sharing. We at the Shaping the Future Nation believe that United States, America, our hometown, our home country, is at a possible tipping point. It could go either direction. We're just not sure. Tell us, Marco, what is America to you?
Well, you know what? Right now there's so many things that people think that America is not great, or America is not the country it used to be. I think that we're better than ever before. There's so many changes happening. There's so many diversified, we have so much cultures, but I think that's what makes, this country so great. I came from a very poor background. My parents were from Mexico, and, they never stopped trying. My dad was a serviceman for the Army, and he gave it 100%. He was very proud of where, what he served. But, if we look at what our country was even 50 years ago and where we're at today, we've come a long way. And is it perfect? No. But I would say, where else would you want to be at right now at this moment is our country, America. It's just a great place to be at, for so many different reasons. You have, so many different groups that think, their ideology works. But at the end of the day, if we all learn to respect each other, just a little, there's not going to be a harmony every day. But I would say our country is a great place. It needs fixing like any other country. There's no country in this world that's perfect. I've had the opportunity to travel, And every time I start thinking about 10 days go by or a week goes by, I start to think of, my hometown of California, the good old USA. And it's just a great place to be at, and, you could do anything you want to do. You don't have to, of course, having economics gives you it gives you a little step ahead. But I would tell you, I've come from nothing to employing over 300 plus people, having 30 something offices, being able to do a lot of things I wouldn't think I was going to be doing, but it's a great place. We have so much ahead of us. And if we really work with each other, respect each other, we'll be another, who knows, we'll have another female president soon, we'll have maybe a Hispanic being a president, maybe another black president, who knows, another Asian president. Anything can happen.
I have to submit, Marco, it will happen. It can and it will happen in due time. Tell me, Marco, you have shared with us a lot of background, some strategies to become an excellent entrepreneur, listening to customers, listening to people, building a strong team, essentially having some goals and daily habits that help you to be successful. I'll bet, however, that there is a single piece of really good advice that you can share with the listening audience today. Let it go, Marco. Tell us something really strong.
Well, I think that, everything that I've been saying in the last 30, 40 minutes is really understanding where your business is at, really understanding where you want to be at, really, having a vision and always making adjustments. If there's any advice I could give somebody is, you're going to make adjustments. Just take for instance, a football team. They have a certain game plan, or a boxer, or any athlete. We always look at the athletes. We always look at those metaphors, but it's true. That's what life's about. You're going to make changes. The changes are going to come your way. You're going to have some bumps in the road. You're going to have some ups and you're going to have some downs. But one thing you have to do is keep going forward. What makes us strong is when you fall down. What makes us who we are is what we've learned down the road. Imagine if we had a life with no scratches, no heartbreaks, no failures, nothing to learn from. It would be a boring life. So what makes us who we are is those moments that make you strong, those moments when winter is coming and you got to put on your jacket and you got to think like, hey, what's my next move? So realistically is, don't take things for granted. Don't take it, and don't ever take anything personal. Put people good around you. Never look at somebody like, oh, I'm afraid this person's going to make me look bad, because ultimately they're going to make you look good. And really appreciate the people around you. And like I was saying before, you're hoping for the best. You put strategies involved, and hopefully your strategy works. And if it doesn't, make some changes. But don't wait. Don't be those kind of people that wait until things are falling apart around you. Make adjustments with the right game plan, but make them at an appropriate time.
The right game plan, that's valuable. Reminds me of a saying from the Mike Tyson once said, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. And then that's when success comes out. That's when you dig down deep and you become that person you're looking to do. Tell me, Marco, please share with the listening audience how our listeners can contact you or Bail Hotline and what they might receive when they do contact you.
Well, you could go to my my Facebook page. It's Marco Mcguire. You could always go to my Instagram. You can follow me on my Instagram. I'm always posting different things on my social media platforms. I think it's important that you're out there and you're accessible. You could always email me at mcguire@bailhotline.net. I'm a easy person to reach. You could come and visit me at my restaurant here in downtown Riverside at Prohibition. Prohibition's a great place. we didn't think it was going to be, when you open up a business, you don't know, you're hoping for the best, but it's a really great location here in downtown Riverside. Riverside is a really beautiful place here in California. It's about 40 minutes from LA. It's a very historical town, but, come and visit me at my restaurant. You could always meet me here and we could talk about your stories, my stories, and really share each other's ideals, and you could email me, reach me off my Instagram or Facebook. But I think that having a platform, whatever business you're on, make sure that you're out there.
Thank you, Marco, for sharing, and thank you, Future Shapers audience. That concludes this episode of Today's Sense, this vision of what our future will look like as we take action to become the people that we're intended to be. So, thank you. Look forward to our next event in just a couple days.
Thank you for joining this episode of Shaping the Future podcast. We leave you, future shapers, with this challenge. Act boldly today to shape your future, because if you don't, it will absolutely be shaped for you.